Eventually able to clear the lines, but is it just going to come straight back in towards them? Or is Luis Jr. going to make something of this? Has an attempted goal? Oh, Luis Jr., you beauty! Yamashita makes that first mistake. Delhi's on the ball. Luis Jr. absolutely punishes Koga. Doesn't even need to look, Luis Jr. He knows exactly where the goalkeeper is. He knows exactly what he's going to do when he gets on the ball.
What a goal. What a goal to kick off Game Week 14 in the Singapore Premier League. And what a result as well. Tanjong Pagar United beating league leaders Albirex 2-1. What a result. Roshan, you were at the Jurong East Stadium. Did you see that one coming? And were Tanjong Pagar full value for their win?
They were. I thought they deserved it in the end. I mean, it would be a little bit cruel to for me to sit here and say they didn't, because I think they did create enough to go on and win it. There were a couple of chances from Khairul Amri as well to actually get the goals that would have perhaps killed the game off before Luis Jr. came off the bench and created some magic with that strike. I mean, what an intriguing game of football it was. It was actually the way Albirex started that match and the way it sort of went, the whole momentum and whole rhythm of the game was such that Albirex were the side in possession, in control, looking to create opportunities. The switches of play from one side to the other were wonderful. A lot of good usage of the diagonal passes, and the technique on those diagonal balls was excellent as well. Driven passes out to Tokiwa, out to Hashioka, and then they link up in those wider positions with their, I'm going to use a fancy word, inverted sort of wingers that will come into those areas. Hashioka had a couple of opportunities of his own that he created for Albirex, but they just weren't able to find a breakthrough. Zafan, I thought, had a really good game in goal. He was very steady. And then props to that back line as well. Shakir Hamza had a much improved game. He was excellent. He was outstanding in that back three. Alongside the Farids and Delwinder, all three of them were really, really good in that game and controlled things for the most part for that Tanjong Pagar side. And for Tanjong Pagar, I mean, there were times when I think you go into these games and you understand that you will need to be under pressure. You will need to defend deep in certain situations and keep your discipline and just work as hard as you bloody can against Albirex, which they did, and it was really great to see. And then taking the opportunities in those counter-attacking situations at times. Although Nishiguchi was perhaps for me in an attacking sense the standout player in terms of being that one player who could really create some magic for them in those forward positions, Raushan. And again, credit to the likes of Fatullah, who had an outstanding game in central midfield, a young man there. Anaki down the right-hand side as well, along with Rujaidi. And that was really down the right-hand side where Tanjong Pagar were looking to create most of their opportunities in the first half. Second half, they held on. You thought Albirex would get that equalizer, and perhaps Albirex would go on to win it. But then, as you mentioned, what a brilliant way to sort of win the game. And you saw how much it meant to the Tanjong Pagar players in the celebrations, and Raushan post-match as well. You had the players just falling to their knees. You had Delwinder with this defiant roar where he just went, yes, sir! It was like incredible. Tanjong Pagar's first win over Albirex as a club in 18 league matches. Brilliant result. And one, Raushan, that was, I said at the time in commentary, great not just for Tanjong Pagar, but great for the title race as well.
Yeah, it was meant to be great for the title race because that then opened up the door for the Lion City Sailors to close in when they played Balestier Khalsa on Sunday. Unfortunately, or we'll see, the Sailors stumbled to a 1-1 draw. Plenty has been said about the playing surface at Toa Payoh Stadium, but surely that alone couldn't have contributed to the Sailors' stumble, right?
I mean, it was really difficult. It's a difficult pitch to play on. And we saw the Sailors, they normally like to play that passing game, right? They like to build up from the back, play through the lines, and you're trying to attack opposition sides and try to dominate, which they did. They dominated possession. They had more of the ball. They had more of the chances. I think they did create decent opportunities in that first half, especially with those late runs from midfield, sort of those underlapping runs in those situations to get in behind Balestier's defense. And they did have a couple of opportunities. I think Gabriel had one chance, and I remember there was another one as well. I think it was Haikal Pasha actually, who had a chance right in front of goal, under pressure from Zaiful, and then he sort of shot the ball away off target. So they did have opportunities, and if they had scored, then again it would have changed the game. It would have changed the rhythm of the game, because then Balestier would have been, the side that has to open up and go out and try and pick up a goal for themselves. I mean, you know what to expect when you're coming up against Balestier. And, this is home ground advantage. As poor as the pitch is, we know that there are teams who perhaps want pitches to be that way just because
Of
it
course.
suits their style of play. You know,
Mm.
I'm not saying that's what Balestier want, but it certainly suits them, doesn't it? I mean, it
Yeah.
limits the opposition. If you're a passing side, it limits your style of play. And for Balestier, their style of play is, we're going to hit it long. We hit it long and play for the second balls. And, they've got a player like Hoshino, they've got players like Zuzul, Krajicek, who can create these little moments of magic, something out of the blue. And that's essentially Balestier's style, Raushan. But look, I think at the very least, it was, yes, an opportunity missed for the Lion City Sailors. But bigger picture, they're still in the title race. They've got that game in hand. They were able to close the gap to just 3 points now. Although they would have liked more against the Tigers, but they're still in it, Raushan.
Yeah, certainly. If you look at the standings here, they're still in it. They have the better goal difference. They have a game in hand, and they're just 3 points behind Albirex. So if they win their game in hand, they can go top. Speaking of the title race, one team lurking maybe slightly at the back in the background is Hougang United, who on Saturday got clinical 1-0 victory against the Young Lions. I was on commentary and I watched that result play out, and I felt Hougang were quite lucky to get the result. Did you feel that way?
This is something I always think about. People talk about deserve and luck, and deserved in football for me is it's a funny concept, and it's something I've spoken to other coaches about and things like that. But luck as well. Sometimes you're thinking, is it luck or is it just poor finishing? Or if the ball hits the post, is it poor finishing? Or in a certain situation, the striker misses. Is it good goalkeeping, or is it just unlucky? I mean, whatever you want to call it, it is whatever you want to call it, right? But coming back to, I think the bigger picture here was for Hougang to somehow eke out a result for me, Raushan. And they were able to do that. They were absolutely able to do that. And I think that's, at the end of the day, is the most important thing. Anyone out there who's in the game of football, any coach is going to tell you the only thing at the end of the day, at the end of a match, is the result. And if they got the 3 points, which I think keeps them in contention for the title race, that's all that really mattered. Okay, job done. Perhaps wasn't a vintage Hougang performance, but they got the result. They got the result that keeps them in contention, Raushan. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they're still in with a shout?
I'm completely in agreement with you, because I think they were on the back of 2 defeats. So to eke out the result, get your nose over the line, it was crucial for them. And they eventually did. They took advantage of the man advantage. And one thing I learned from someone within the Hougang camp as well is they actually targeted the Young Lions goalkeeper, because he had been spilling crosses in the warm-up. And even throughout the game, a few chances from Tomoyuki Doi. The keeper, Ridwan Fikri, wasn't very confident of handling the ball. He chose to parry it more than handle. And eventually that's the way the goal came, because they put additional attackers to pressure the keeper. And eventually when Ridwan spilled the ball, Shawal Anwar was on hand to knock it along to Tomoyuki Doi, and Doi is not going to miss from the 6-yard box now, is he? So I think Hougang did well to your point, take advantage of the weakness and get their necks over the line. And it's a crucial 3 points that keeps them in the title race very, very much. And I think there's still games to be played, and we've seen results can go anyway. There's nothing certain, right, as with football. So never say never. We'll see how it pans out. Speaking of good performances and bad performances, I just want to zoom in on the standout players of the weekend. Rosh, who do you think stood out for you on Gameweek 14?
I'm gonna cheat a little bit here, Raushan. Instead of standout players, I'm gonna go with a standout team performance, and I think it's Tanjong Pagar United, because I really think it was it deserved, and I really think it was a team effort, and it was an incredible team effort. And I ran through all those names. I mean, I thought Zafan had a solid game in goal, and then that back three, that very experienced back three of Farid Shakir and Delwinder really were so impressive, and just all across the park, really. I mean, Nishikawa as well, trying to keep hold of Hashioka down his side of the pitch. And then Anaki on the other side, Ruzaidi, just all through the park. Rushuto, Fatullah, and central midfield. I'm running through the whole team. So yes, I'm just going to say the standout performance for me of the weekend, and gave everyone a really big boost, I think, going into the weekend, and gave us lots to talk about in this show as well. I'm going
to cheat and steal your answer as well. The only couple of names you probably missed out was Hazrin Jalani and Noah Alam Shah, who deserve massive credit for masterminding this victory against the league leaders. I certainly believe if you go up against the Albirex team and you want to beat them, it takes the whole team to do that, and the whole team came together so well. I gave special praise to the back line a couple of weeks ago, and then Last weekend, they were missing a couple of key personnel and they stumbled. But when they have that first choice three of Delvinder, Shake, and Farid, I think they can go places. And that's testament to the result Tanjong Pagar got, fully deserved. And just looking ahead to the weekend, it's a blockbuster Super Sunday where Tampines Rovers are back in action against the Lion City Sailors. We spoke at length about Lion City Sailors having a game in hand, still being in the driver's seat. But it doesn't get any easier when you're going up against Tampines Rovers. How do you see that game panning out?
Yeah, this one is a huge one for them. And this weekend, Raushan, let's remember the top four all in action against each other. Friday, we've got Albirex against Hougang. So that is also going to sort of play a part in terms of the storyline, once it comes to Sunday, in terms of the pressure, perhaps. Lion City Sailors and Tampines Rovers are going to be under, what the expectations are in terms of that game. And I know we always say, you just take care of your business, take care of what you're going to do. But we can't deny that the reality of the world is different. People are aware of what's happening around them. People are aware of what the results are elsewhere. So what happens on Friday as well between Albirex and Hougang is going to be fascinating for me. Hougang have already lost twice to Albirex. They pushed them really hard in that last game just a couple of weeks ago. They lost by 2-1. They pushed them really hard for about 45, 60 minutes or so, and then they dropped in intensity. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens on that Friday match. But to come back to your question about Lion City Sailors and Tampines Rovers, this was a game that has been pushed back. The first game of the season, 3-3 between these two sides. And really, when I look at these two teams, personnel-wise, perhaps Lion City Sailors have the stronger squad. But Tampines Rovers have stability in terms of the fact that Gavin's been there a longer time, whereas Kim Do-hoon, I think, is still trying to find the right sort of formula with this Lion City Sailors team. And that could kind of go Tampines Rovers' way in that sense. But it also, a lot of it will depend, Raushan, on how fresh they are coming back into league action. They've had that little bit of break. They've had training sessions to try and work with. So this is a huge one. I mean, I've had people messaging me on social media talking about this game already. So, Tampines Rovers fans saying that they're hoping that they can thrash the Lion City Sailors. Lion City Sailors fans coming in and concerned about, what's going on, because there's been 2 draws under Kim Do-hoon at the moment. So, I mean, this is going to be a great one to keep a lookout for. Overall, a brilliant weekend, as I said. Top 4 all in action against each other. I
mean, if there's a time to start watching the Singapore Premier League, this is it, right? Top 4 all facing off each other. So many subplots, so many storylines. Thank you so much for your time today, Rosh. Enjoy the football.
Thanks, Raushan. Enjoy it, and everyone out there, hope they enjoy it too.